Hello again. Patty Greer here, video number 5 on crop circles, the phenomenon. And today we're going to talk about the corruption because it's just time. Now, I would like to put up a warning up front of SH. So this is not a G, this is an SH warning for severely honest, because I'm going to lay it out. What the great journalists are kind of dancing around, I think we need to get to the point, to the jugular, and talk about what's really going on that's really hurting the field of ufology, secret space program, basically all advanced technologies. It appears that everybody believes that we've got all these 3-lettered agencies that are up against so many of us, and that's what the targeting is about, but I think it's a little closer to home. And we do have a lot of very brave people that are starting to call it out, but I think it's going to have to be the women that just put a period at the end of the sentence because the men appear to be dancing. And I love the team. I think we are on the most exciting journey in human history. You can hear a raven outside right now yelling because I have watchdogs that are very different than most people. I have foxes and raven that for some reason surround my homes everywhere I've lived for the last 40, 50 years. I've had raven and foxes. So yeah, I think we all pick our frequency and have very different lives, but being dropped in the UFO field as just a woman that was a musician. I've been a musician my whole life. I mean, peace, love, and harps. I played harp and piano and wrote beautiful songs. And I never, ever thought about making movies. I never, ever thought about UFOs or crop circles or any of that. This has all been quite a surprise to me. And I got into the field because I was hit with probably 3 major corruption cases in a row where I was just astounded, and I needed to go and do something unhuman, beyond human healing, to take care of the final one after getting ripped off by my financial advisor. And it's not like victim talk. This is like serious corruption time all around the world. I mean, when most of our politicians are, you know, like they are, and this level of what's going on, my God, the pedophilia, it's like, how can we possibly think this is okay? Please tell me they didn't really pass a law in California allowing people to marry 10-year-olds. I mean, can this really be true? Yeah. Yeah, we got some real slackers being paid to make horrific laws for people. I don't know what's true anymore. Do you? What I know is that I have 5 EB awards behind me for the movies I've made. And I've made 8 films in 10 years with nothing but honesty. I laid in a bunch of crop circles. I laid in crop circles with people that were as loyal as myself day after day. They were there in the field, so those are the people I interviewed. I don't have third-hand or reporters or any kind of anything but what's really going on in the fields, such as what they look like inside is so much more information than just looking at a picture from the air. Because if you think from the air, wow, that looks real, but it can't be, you get in a field and you find that you are sitting amongst so much physical evidence that is undeniable. And when I say that, I'm talking about the nodes, which are obviously, there's a stalk of wheat, and if it's a human-made crop circle, and even though some of them are real, which we talked about in video 3, the crop circles made by humans that are like, ha, we're going to fool you all. Every 3 feet, you'll see broken wheat. And it will be broken in a long straight line where the board was laid down. It's kind of easy to figure out a crop circle that's made by humans. On the other hand, if you get in a crop circle with acres of biophysical change, such as, rather than the wheat being broken where it bends, you have a bubble, and some of them are burned with steam hole, where something hit the wheat with a huge amount of heat, instantly, quickly, and it changed the entire structure of the plant. it changed the structure of the node, but it also stimulated something in the plant that is causing the ultimate punchline, which I am going to repeat in every video. Why they're hiding crop circle data is because the seeds inside crop circles become super seeds. Crop circles are creating seeds that grow 30 to 400% more food and biofuel, hello hemp, with up to 75% more nutrition per plant. Okay, now number one, food supply, hello, we'd like to have you back. Bye-bye, Monsanto Bear. I think it's fair for us to have decent food again. So here's a technology that can bring our food supply back and biofuel once we get rid of gas and oil and all those outdated dinosaur things. Move into free energy. We're also going to be learning to use hemp, hempcrete, hemp everything, my goodness. And it grows incredibly quickly. What if we added a technology that brought all this forward? Well, guess what? We can. And I think Penny Kelly and I are going to be able to bring it to the world someday soon. We are looking into, people are showing up with funding, and I think it's very possible that it's going to be really wonderful for Africa and Siberia and the countries that have really difficult time growing food, too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry. These seeds, after getting hit with spinning plasma frequencies, are able to survive. So, not only is it happening in crop circles, but it can be happening in labs across the world when this technology gets out. So that's been my work. And the amazing difficulty that I have dealt with is physical. And so the brave move I'm about to make is where I'm going to remind you severe honesty. Those of you that don't want to know what's hurting the field of ufology, please tune out. Ignore the EB Awards for Best Film, because my films tell the truth and people actually like them who knew what was going on. I've had 3 different distributors all treat me in the same frequency, which none of you would want to work in. And so I've told a lot of people in the field whose work I don't want for them to lose their work like I've lost mine. But I haven't lost anything. It's just kind of in the freezer of this big corporation right now for 10 years. You know, no big deal. $1 million in losses, no big deal, you know. I'm kidding. It's not okay. So what I've done over the years is document. Document physical facts, photos, screenshots of all the amazing ways I have been played and how they've hidden my movies. And I look at what they did to William Levengood, the great scientist. The only reason I'm sticking in here was because I promised the dead guy, God bless William Levengood, but I promised him I wouldn't relent. I would get the work out. I would tell the truth about what happened to him. And sure enough, I met Penny Kelly, who really worked with him in the lab for the last 16 years of his life. Even though BLT looks like Nancy Talbot, Burke Levengood, and Talbot, she was expelled from the lab in 1998, and Burke and Levengood never worked with her again. So there was a big rift. And because of that rift, it wasn't a coincidence that Lefty, William Levengood, had unbelievable suppression of his work. Very bad press because he said that he was a doctor. So let's take away 50 years of incredible research and pretend that he lied. And because they actually pulled it off, when he went for his final PhD, they brought in some guy at the last minute, like somebody all of a sudden was pulled off this group of 3, and a guy came in who absolutely hated William Levengood. Perfect plan. So he knew that Lefty had one little glitch, which was that he would start stuttering if somebody got in his face, if somebody became highly aggressive and intimidating in his face. The guy was perfect. So he walked out. Levengood walked out stuttering. And the story is told completely in full by his real partner of the last 16 years of his life, Penny Kelly. She says very stunning things that none of you have ever heard, because she was really the one in the lab with William Levengood. It wasn't the other lady who still runs with his name. So, you know, we've got this interesting split in the field. We've got this interesting split in politics. I'm sure a lot of you have lost friends and family respect. If you liked Trump or you hated Trump, or you liked Hillary or you hated Hillary. I mean, it's like they couldn't have picked a bigger way to split the world than to bring those two in. I mean, wow. But the good thing is, I think the cabal is losing a whole lot of ground, and I think that humanity is waking up. And I think that it's going to be videos like I'm about to lay out where I'm not going to slander. I am going to state fact after fact after fact and show you evidence. And really, ultimately, I feel like a cluster of third graders should be the judges to say, okay, where's the problem? Because they would do it. But I think a lot of us in the field are too scared to talk about really what's going on, because most of you, I don't know, heard about the photographer that got threatened recently at Contact in the Desert. I was sitting there. There were 10 of us sitting there watching a photographer walk up to the head of Gaia. And a camera guy that was selling night vision she'd met him a few times. And she said, hi, I'd like to take your picture, because she takes everybody's pictures at all the events. And really great lady. And she got attacked in front of all of us. He didn't want his picture taken. And she was being polite, and she said, well, you know, anybody with a booth or a ticket is here, and I can photograph anyone. We can all photograph anyone because it's part of the agreement. And so she lifted her camera and took a shot. And he grabbed her name tag and pulled the back of her neck, and it wasn't very polite. But then when he got in her face and started tapping his finger, he said some very serious words that I've heard repeated a few times. And I don't know how often this is happening, but here's this lady, innocent, taking a photo, and he said, delete that photo. And she said, I beg your pardon. And he said, if you don't delete that photo, I will destroy this man and he will never work in the field again. And she was just like, and all of us are sitting here watching this. But nobody really reacted until she yelled, get your effing finger off my heart chakra or I will effing bite it off. I mean, she was completely blown away that he would do this in front of all of us. And she had to say, well, if you want to destroy this guy, I mean, you know, I've only met him twice. She just takes photos of people. She's a great person. Everybody knows her and loves her. So she came back pretty shook, came over to my table, sat down, reported it to security. We're in a difficult time because I think a lot of us in the field have been so worn down by hacking, if we tell the truth, or stolen royalties if you make movies or write books. You know, it's an interesting time. I remember in the 50s and 60s and 70s, we heard, oh, musicians always get screwed. It's the management that takes everything. And it's like, why is that common knowledge? Why is it okay? Why is it even still being done? My God, it's 2017. Haven't we grown up in a field this important? Not even close. Not even close. But for me to have the same experience with 3 different movie distributors, I don't know if it's because I'm a woman or because my movies don't lie. But without any slander, I'm going to tell you the facts, and I'm going to show you screenshots so that you know that I'm not making any of this up. My first distributor was UFO TV. In 2008, I was at the International UFO Congress Convention. I was showing my first movie. My second movie was filmed there that year. I was introduced by the incredible Bob Brown, who owned the International UFO Congress with his beautiful family for, I think it was 19 years. And his wife passed, and he and his daughters tried to carry on, but it was just too much work. In 2008, I went back and I had 2 movies done. The first one, in 2007, was called The Wake Up Call. Anybody listening? And that's the one where I introduced the fact that the Oliver's Castle footage, those 2 balls of light had a communication and binary code between them. And all the deniers can do whatever they want and dance on the facts all they want. But the only person that ever looked at it and said the truth to me, which is exactly what I knew when I found it, was Penny Kelly, who worked in the lab with William Levengood and looked at more biophysical samples of crop circles and tree samples of areas that had been visited by a spaceship. They actually had pieces of the craft that she herself handled from Roswell, pieces of the Roswell craft Penny Kelly and William Levengood had in the lab. So, I mean, they were not small potatoes. They were really working with very important things in the field of ufology, and especially crop circles and the biophysical evidence that is undeniable. So, UFO TV sees that I have 2 movies, and I had just been introduced by Bob Brown as the new girl. And I had called about a month after they had sealed the deal on the acquisitions for the film festival, but he loved the movie so much, he said, that's it, I don't know who you are, but I'm throwing a special Tuesday lunch, and people can buy a bag lunch and come sit in there, and the place was packed. And it was all these famous UFO researchers, you know, that I barely looked into because I wasn't into UFOs. It was just, I laid in a crop circle and started making movies really fast. I laid in a number of crop circles before this happened. It was at the end of 2007, but that's, you know, a different video. I want to stay focused here on the fact that I had 2 movies, and the first one proved, in my opinion, that the Oliver's Castle footage is absolutely real. Penny Kelly looks at my screenshot of the communication and immediately said, wow, what a great shot of 2 plasma balls communicating in a binary code. I was like, I knew it. I knew it. And you're the only one of the people I've been told to, you know, I asked her because I knew she'd know. She'd know the truth. She looked right at it. She nailed it. But the famous guys with all the initials and all the, you know, everybody wants me to go give it to them. The first guy, I won't name him because his response was so stupid. It was an eyelash that must have fallen on the original footage. Yep. That's what he said after 2 months wait. And he told me he'd sent it off to this guy in England, so I knew that guy. About a month later, I wrote him and he said, he didn't send me anything. So I'm going to stop wasting my time on all the big people in the, hi, I'm going to tell you if it's a real orb or not field, because I think between Penny Kelly and I, we got this down. But again, I'm just talking about my perception. I can't say I'm right or wrong, and I'm sure there will be people that want to believe that Oliver's Castle is fake because they were told it was by somebody they still love today. And he's a great guy, lovely English accent. Carrying on, UFO TV had these 2 videos he could see that I was, you know, banging away in 2 years, or in a year, 2 years. I had made my first 2 movies. And after, actually in 2 years, I made my first 4 because I went to England a couple times, and the second time I had a camera and I was just out of control. I filmed everybody talking about 2012 in 2008, and I also talked about crop circles. So the movie 2012 were already in it. Probably the prettiest movie I've made, Fairy Glades of England, but it was, you know, years before 2012. And England, people were talking about things that in America I had never heard of. I'm sorry to say, I think we're about 8 years behind the 8 ball, spiritually, psychically, intuitively, cosmically. England is way behind us with spider webs in their homes and dirty cars because they're more into the garden than having a spanky clean car to drive down Main Street. So it's a different energy there. Another reason I think the circle makers are delivering so many crop circles to southern England. The area is truly Druid still. And all the feelings of the land, even with all the military and the military flares trying to distract you in the sky at night, it's really going on. I meet this tall guy, Tim Chapman, UFO TV, who starts to flirt and got my first 2 movies, 8-year contract with options for more. So I was super excited. Oh my God, distribution, you know, and I got my masters together and I took my daughter and we got all dressed up and flew out to LA. I had $1,500 masters. He's in Venice. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, glass doors to the ocean. I was so excited. And the taxi pulls up to the address on Abbot Kinney and I was like, No, we're behind a grocery store. This can't be it. It's got to be something on the beach. I thought, I've got this total image that, I actually had a distribution deal with some classy agency. So here we are dressed up, and I called him on the phone, and he said, yeah, just come in the back door up the stairs. And I said, the door with no sign? And he said, yeah, come on in. So we go in the back of a grocery store, up some stairs with barely any railing, and there's 2 rooms with studs, not even drywall. And he's sitting in one office and his employees in the other one, and wall to wall inside those 2x4s, floor to ceiling was everybody's videos. And my daughter and I looked at each other, and I was so embarrassed. And in that moment, I wish I had had the intuition to say, thanks anyway, we're going to go to the beach instead. But I didn't. I carelessly looked at the facility and still moved forward. My movies were selling for $30 each on Amazon by the dozens. I think I averaged 17 a day for like a year. It was unbelievable selling the movies because my information was fresh. It was new, and the hacking had not started yet on Amazon. I was on page 1 for years, and it was great. I mean, I was like, wow, I can do this. People are really cool. And then I woke up one day and I had 0 sales for days. It went away. It just stopped. My movies were, in 2008, selling for $30 each by the dozens, and it just stopped. So I went on Amazon. I was like, what happened? And there's my 2 movies in one box for $24.99 from UFO TV. My name has disappeared off the cover, and his logo was on it, I can't remember, 12 or 14 times. UFO TV was on my 2 DVDs and the box where they were put together for less than half the price I was selling them for, with 14 or 12 logos, and my name was gone. So how many clues do you need that you made a mistake? So for 8 years, I think he fought with me, and finally I got Amazon to pull it. But it took, 100 hours on the phone, 20, 30 letters. It wasn't easy. But luckily he had skipped some of the soundtrack and it was missing, so he glitched it. And that's the only way I could get away with getting rid of him on Amazon, because that's not how to treat people. And he was so dishonest with me when he got the deal with me that he was saying things like, if I were single, you wouldn't be able to run fast enough. He called me one night sniveling, these are true facts, not slander, sniveling, crying, because he was listening to my music. And he said it touched his heart so deeply that he was crying over my music. Now, coincident or not, I don't know if it has anything to do with him, but I made 10 copies of a second DVD that I never burned publicly. I never put it out. So it never had a box. It was just a round DVD, and I did some art on it, and I had 10 copies or 12, and I gave him one. And that, and my other DVD, I don't know who did it, handed it over to the Amazon selling team in 2009, and they've been selling them ever since. I've never had a penny. I've never given them copyright permission. But I have written 30 or 40 letters and spent 100 hours on the phone saying, why is my music being sold in 7 countries? Why are there more than 38 stores selling my music illegally? And I finally traced it down to what they called the Amazon selling team. And they will not pull it. And they will not tell me who's getting the money or who's burning DVDs. It is July 11th, 2017. They're still up in 7 countries. My 2 music CDs. And there were only 10 or 12 copies of The Bridge of Forgiveness. So can't imagine who's sleeping with Amazon and got that done. It's not okay. But it's being done to good people, clean people. Clean meaning integral, honest, thorough. Me, a musician, 33 years. I played music. I made beautiful, expensive CDs, and somebody hacked them I don't even know where else they're selling. You know, I don't even go looking for what thief is doing what today, but I'm tired of it because we deserve to be respected. I don't care if it's since the hippie days in the 60s and 70s that musicians get screwed, filmmakers get screwed. It's like, no, that's not common knowledge. That's slime balls passing misinformation. It's time to grow up, world. It's time to get back to treating each other right. 8 years later, I finally finished this ridiculous dance with UFO TV and Tim Crawford. I made 66 pennies a month average after 8 years. So I wrote him, and my lawyer wrote him. And we also sent a certified letter that said at the end of 8 years, you do not have permission to continue selling my work at all. You must cease and desist. And at the end of his contract, he had 1 year to continue selling things, which he wrote in, you know, if he had any left over. Well, why don't you just burn an extra 1,000 so you can, yeah. So, you know, another year. But it all ended May 2015. And we have that physical evidence. And still today, my movies are available on UFO TV and probably at Walmart. I think that's the big one. Walmart. So I can't get rid of it. Can't get it off my shoe. And lawyers can't get rid of it either. So what is it? And how is he still in business? Because he's not allowed at most of the UFO events anymore. Lost his privilege. So who's funding this? I mean, I don't see him advertised anywhere, but now he's partnered with MUFON. So perhaps, you know, that's a nice piece of support. But I was asked last year by someone to let Jan Harzan know that I had some pretty rough experiences with UFO TV. And this man wrote me and said, would you please write him and tell him about your experiences, because MUFON is about to give their, and he wrote, entire catalog to UFO TV. And I don't know Jan, so I said, no, I don't know him. He's not going to listen to me. But a week later, when I found that he was still selling my stuff, and I think I found it somewhere else where he was illegally selling my stuff, I thought, well, you know, I could write the letter. And Jan was very respectful. He and Tim are really good friends. And he just had nothing but great things to say about him. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But I do know that they're very good friends and they're working together. So maybe that's how he's still surviving. But you don't treat people like this. I know a lot of people that are getting pennies, because they signed a careless deal. I knew that Amazon I didn't want played with, and I thought I had pretty much gotten him off and gotten rid of him, and, you know, a few pennies a month I'll just tolerate until the 8 years is up, but he's still going for it. So I got approached after I did my fourth movie that won. My fourth movie is called Crop Circle Update, The Wake Up Call. I won Best Feature Film at the International UFO Congress. I also won Best Musical Score that same year for the film. And that was all my original music, so I was very touched by that. And then I went to another film festival, the Moondance Film Festival, and they gave me Best Film and an award called the Gaia Award, funny. And it was for being a deep and sensitive filmmaker, ultimately, which I really appreciated. So I got 8 more offers. And I thought, you know, maybe I'll try like this cosmic group, and I'm going to name another one and only say the facts. They were called New Leaf. And I spoke with a woman named Lanita. She was very, very nice, very supportive. And I told her what I had gone through with UFO TV, and I said, this cannot happen again. Nobody has permission to destroy my Amazon business. If you want to be my distributor, you add to my life. You don't destroy. Oh, we don't do Amazon. You know, that's not a problem. It won't happen. And she was lovely. So I worked with them, and you have to give them $500 up front, and I was on the back cover of their magazine. It was beautiful, and I was really excited because I thought, oh, good, second chance. And about 3-4 months in, Amazon disappeared again. And I was like, no, So sure enough, it was New Leaf. And I called her, and she said, verbatim, "I'm so sorry. I had no idea they were going to do a sweep. And I walked your movies and music into the owner. And I told him, I promised her we wouldn't do this." And his words were this: "Tell her she either acquiesces or she can get her shit out of here." Those were the words. And I heard that she was no longer working there shortly after this happened. So here I am, you know, a nice person who's making really good movies. And I'm doing them basically at 3 in the morning when I'm awake and all this data comes in. I get up in the morning and it's like, I wrote that. And then everything happens that day. But again, I don't bring my camera out unless I'm in England, in the epicenter, in the peak of summer. I mean, it's not hard to film absolute gorgeousness when you're in heaven. And years ago it was. This year, not so much. I actually saw many postings that the police are now cracking down on the farmers, asking them to mow out the field, to report the license plates of any filmmakers or people with drones that are filming crop circles. 2017, yeah. Closed our research center last summer, or it closed. I need to be more appropriate. The only store really in the center of the epicenter no longer is interested in crop circle books or movies, maybe a few postcards. I'm like, that was last year. This year, oh my God, just more of the same. But now the postings are, it is illegal to go into a crop circle unless you've got permission from the farmer. It is illegal to produce a crop circle on somebody's land. Well, if it was a bunch of blokes with boards and ropes that were going, ha ha, humanity, arrest them. I'm fine with that. I have no problem. But what we have here in 2017 is a really interesting spin where the human circle makers are really getting all the press, and the rest of the really good formations are really not being talked about. I had my second experience with the others, and I said, just send my S back. But those were the words. That was my choice. It's like, this is a spiritual company? This is conscious media? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just, I guess, too clean, too nice to understand people acting like this. But then comes the champs. Once I won all those awards for Crop Circle Update, The Wake Up Call, I had 8 offers for distribution, 8 different companies. And I looked into all of them, but only one of them offered money. And what they've done to all of us in the field and in America and probably across the world is made sure we are all getting good and desperate for some income, so that we say yes to things that we would never say yes to. That's what's happening in the field today, in my opinion. We are at that point. Let's talk about number 3. My biggest lesson ever, and perhaps it's going to be the lesson of many great, great people in the field of ufology very soon. Or perhaps I'm the only one that deserved to be treated this way, but I don't think so. So distributor number 3, the only ones offering money, guess who? Gaia. Gaia. Oh wait, they have a new name now. Gaia. Gaia, the goddess, the earth, divine feminine. We're not liking this. But anyway, they had to change their name. So I signed with Gaia in 2009. I still had the clink, clink, clink of UFO TV for 66 pennies a month dragging on my heels. They knew that, but they were okay with it. So I signed a deal, and I was peaking on mercury poisoning. I had trusted a dentist years ago, and I paid him thousands to put white porcelain fillings in, and I woke up with a mouth full of new mercury fillings. And he said that while I was fully unconscious, I changed my mind and asked him for mercury instead. Please. Now, that never happened. And unfortunately, though, I was in the red zone of mercury poisoning for a good 10 years. And during the course of it was when I signed with all these distributors. During the course of it was also when I was making incredible movies. So mercury, I was told by a great scientist, has two elements. One of them can make you brain dead, which I think was the intention of the dentist, because I knew about mercury poisoning in 2004 when he poisoned me. And now we're getting a lot of information about how intentional the poisoning is and how dentists and doctors get bonuses for over-vaccinating children and flu shotting everyone. And if they get a certain amount per month, they get a bonus. But if they don't hit that amount, their money is deducted. So they're very motivated to put mercury fillings and mercury shots into as many humans as possible. Isn't that great? I mean, I couldn't sleep at night if it was me going, I'm going to poison a few bunch more kids so my handsome boy can go to college. It's like, man. So I'm sorry. I'm not very nice about any of this because I am for humanity, not for myself. Or I obviously wouldn't be doing this work and telling you what I'm about to tell you. So, nothing but the facts. Absolutely no slander coming up. Let's talk about my experience with a corporation called Gaia, now known as Gaia. So, I signed in 2009 a 10-year contract for distribution. I had to think about it because it's officially a 10-year contract for suppression. It's hard to say these words because it's so beyond out of character to have fallen into a trap like this with three different people, three different organizations, or are they really one? I don't know. How can three different groups be this bad? So let me tell you. My experience, I've been dealing with this company now for 5.5 years. They didn't even bother sending a W-9 last year, and his reason was because we didn't send you any money. Well, yeah, for years. So I was very excited, absolutely delighted when I first was approached by Anna Dara, who used to run Spiritual Cinema Circle, who was bought by Gaia. Conscious Media Network was bought by Gaia. They were buying everyone and everything. They were starting to sponsor a lot of the UFO events and gaining quite a bit of control over these events and making quite a presence with a big white tent when nobody else on that list of sponsors had a big white tent. So they've put themselves in a position of priority treatment, and they have the ability to distribute my films magnificently. My films had just received the 5th award when I signed with them, a 10-year deal to suppress my first 4 movies. The first couple quarters, they did make massive sales. They put the movies out far and wide, and they did really, really well, probably because they wanted their $10,000 back. And when I looked at the statements was when I started to complain. They only gave me one itemized statement, even though my contract says that I will get quarterly statements. Yeah, I won't even go into it. It was clear from the start that I was going to have a problem. And I wrote really long letters trying to say, come on, let's be friends, let's work together. But I kept getting very derogatory letters back from a man named Sam Tolles. And he was very clear that he was done talking with all the staff members that were trying to help me. So he put out a memo that asked all of them to no longer speak with me and send every single interaction with Patty Greer directly to legal. So then at the bottom of a draft of a lot of their lawyers and different people, I found another letter written by Eric Lemasters that said something to the reference of that I had asked if my movies were going to be showing up on VOD or, and he wrote these words. Patty Greer asked again. She must have been abducted again and had her brain wiped. Patty Greer must have been abducted again and had her brain wiped. Fact. This is true. So here I am in my first year. Now I can't talk to anybody. And then we go into the second year and they fired 1 or 2 royalty people. I think there's been 4 since I worked with them, for whatever reasons. And I am used to 0 income for my first 4 movies from this corporation that for some reason, once they got their $10,000 back or had too many letters where I was complaining about wanting transparency, all of a sudden I disappeared from gaiatv. I disappeared from their catalog where my DVDs were selling really well. And they are, still today, my exclusive distributors of my first 4 films. So exclusively, they took me off their TV channel, and they took me out of their catalog, and they took me off every platform where, God forbid, I would make some income. Why? Because I'm a girl? Or because my movies tell the truth? I don't know. All I know is this really is not okay. It's not how people should be treated. So, I don't even think about any of these 3 distributors anymore. I'm just looking forward because I just went, okay. I've had 5 different lawyers try and get my rights back. The last time I did it was December 28th, 2015. I offered them $2,000 to go away and never talk to me again. But I also included the words, and stop hacking me. Now, I'm not going to say that they are hacking me, but it feels as if we were developing quite the issue. And so I put those 2 things in writing. And they responded that I needed to give them